And this is a question that's been coming up. I think you probably heard a bit of that last caller. I did an event on Thursday, and everyone's kind of doing the math and thinking this impeachment narrative is not convincing anyone. In fact, it's, I think, losing support. And so is Pelosi going to let a trial take place in the Senate where they're going to call they're going to call Hunter Biden, they're going to call the whistleblower, they're going to call Adam Schiff, and perhaps it could end up really backfiring on the Democrats. So they got to come up with something that we haven't thought of yet. So what is this censure concept? Is that real?
Well, first of all, I give it 50-50. In other words, I've been thinking about this. The Republicans should fight it. They created their own disaster, the Democrats. Now they should be forced to live with it. If I'm Schumer, I don't want it because Schiff put their best foot forward. You know, he controlled us like a good Soviet Marxist. And so they had the witnesses they wanted. They could cut off questions and so forth. And they have protected this whistleblower throughout who's not even a whistleblower. It goes to the Senate. Those Republicans better pull that whistleblower in. We need the face, the name, the background, every single thing there is to know about this guy, because I think that's the house of cards that'll come down. You'll see the conspiracy with Schiff, with, in my view, Vindman and others. So that's crucial. So they have to worry about that. On the other hand, their base is so nuts. I don't think they'd be happy with anything short of the president hanging from a telephone pole. So they have to deal with this. My guess is they're trying to figure out the best way to deal with this. And censured, in my view, you know, they censured the only president to be censured was Andrew Jackson. And subsequently, Congress reversed itself, you know, after he passed away. There's nothing in the Constitution that supports censure. Doesn't mean these knuckleheads can't vote for censure, call the president a kumquat, or do whatever they want to do in that respect. But I think that's their problem. Our problem is to make sure the Senate is strong enough. You've got some weak sisters there in Collins and Murkowski.
Sure.
You got Romney. You've got, you know, and they have a very thin line. You have McConnell, who's other than judges, has shown himself to be terrible. And our friend Lindsey Graham, who talks a good game, but his actions are, you know, less so. So we've got our own weaknesses in the Senate. But all that said, this is their problem now. And my view is I view these political events as military operations. I don't mean shooting bullets and missiles and the violence. I mean in terms of strategizing. We need to go on offense. These people need to be defeated. And they're hurting in the polls. They've given it their best shot. Now it goes to Nadler. Obviously, they didn't have much faith in Nadler. They wouldn't have put Schiff out there. The House Republicans have been superb. I do not have as much faith in the Senate Republicans. And that's the map.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on this. And I think Nadler also is somewhat compromised because he was a very vocal opponent of the Bill Clinton impeachment from the angle of that impeachment in and of itself is a somewhat illegitimate process. So it wasn't just that the charges.
You know what, Alex? I
Yeah.
looked up Adam Schiff's background.
Yes.
This guy ran the district he has changed several times since, but the district he originally ran in was marginally Republican, just by a touch. And James Rogan was the Republican congressman, and he was one of the leaders in the impeachment effort against Clinton. And Schiff was a state senator, and he ran aggressively against the impeachment of Clinton, and Rogan should have been working on, you know, matters that affect families in the country, and said he's obsessed with impeachment. It was almost the sole issue he ran on. He squeezed by with a victory. And the irony is now look at the jerk. He's hated the entire impeachment effort on the Intelligence Committee.
You're correct on this, and he's largely gotten away with it. We reported on that at Breitbart last week, and it really was. I mean, this has gone on for a long time, and we didn't even catch it. And it is a good point because it really does show you that this is a purely political process. Again, Mark Levin is my guest. You guys should pick up on freedom of the press and keep an eye on anything Mark is doing. One thing, Mark, you're probably the most prominent constitutional scholar in America at the moment. So I like to turn to you for a lot of reasons, but in particular on the issues of the Constitution. I'm not hearing the Constitution invoked a lot in this impeachment process. Are you?
And when it is, Alex, it's wrongly invoked. This is a great point you raise here. Look at the Impeachment Clause. We know what they meant. We have Madison's notes. They keep quoting Hamilton in Federalist 65, but quoting Hamilton in Federalist 65 doesn't give us the full picture. The full picture is this language came from the English. They borrowed the language treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors. They debated over whether they should call it maladministration, which is what George Mason wanted. James Madison said, no way, it's too low of a standard. If a president is held to maladministration, he would be a figurehead. He'd be controlled by the House of Representatives. So this standard they put in there was intended to be a higher standard. You have former federal prosecutors, former judges, and other buffoons who act as legal analysts who are analyzing that language based on the criminal code in the United States. There was no federal criminal code when the language was written. It's based on English common law. Misdemeanor wasn't what we consider it today, jaywalking or something. Misdemeanor was considered high crimes and other misdemeanors. It was considered a significantly grave offense against society. It was not considered a minor violation of a state or federal criminal code. And so that language has meaning. The next thing they do is they quote Gerald Ford, who says impeachment is whatever the House of Representatives says. Is that what the Constitution says? Impeachment is whatever the House of Representatives says it is?
Sounds a little vague. Sounds a little broad.
It's preposterous. They never gave anybody, whether the House, the Senate, the President, Judiciary, illimitable power. You think they would have given the House illimitable power to impeach a president when they put in place this rather significant trial system where they have a Senate where you need 2/3 vote to convict and the Chief Justice is the judge of the event? And no, that's not what it says. It is whatever the House. That might be their motivation. Their motivation may be political, purely political, as a political act. But the House is to comply with the Constitution every bit as much as the Senate, the Judiciary, and the President. So ignore these people on TV who have no idea what they're talking about and actually undermine the Constitution every step of the way. So the President has not committed any of those acts. Every single witness, even people who witnessed nothing, who were called up, all Democrat approved, signed, sealed, certified. Not one of them said the president did. And in fact, every single one of them said the president didn't commit bribery. He didn't extort. He did, even though they don't even understand the terms. What's happening here is so outrageous. No president in American history, in fact, no federal judge who's been impeached has ever faced such an outrageous process where due process is rejected. Now, again, we have the legal analysts saying the Sixth Amendment, Fourth, Fifth don't apply to the president in this regard because it's not a criminal case. How about the Magna Carta? Does that apply to the president of the United States? How about Western civilization and notions of justice? That's where due process comes from. The Bill of Rights didn't just pop up. This was understood. You have a right to confront. First of all, you have a right to know who your accuser is. You have a right to confront your accuser. You have a right to present evidence of witnesses in your defense. The president hasn't had any of these rights. And they say, well, that's for an individual criminal case. Excuse me. This is the process that was followed with Andrew Johnson, Nixon, and Clinton. No civil officer, president, or judge has ever faced the outrageous process that has been put in place by Nancy Pelosi and her mob.
Mark Levin, again, is my guest. The book is On Freedom of the Press. Mark Levin Show on terrestrial radio and on SiriusXM Patriot. It airs at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Life, Liberty, and Levin on Fox News, Levin TV on Blaze TV. So he's ubiquitous. Mark, this is, I think your points here are crucial. And let's turn to the media, which has been your focus this year with your book. And the media's effort to protect the whistleblower, for example, and then the Democrats claiming the whistleblower should be protected and we should know who this person is. Facebook, you can't use this guy Eric Ciamarellas' name, who many people presume to be the whistleblower. Of course, we don't know for sure, but a lot of reporting suggests that's who it is.
You know what? If it's not Eric Ciamarella, he ought to come forward and say so. And his lawyers who are now joining him in the witness protection program, they should come forward and say so. I've invited both on my show and said, if I'm wrong, please come on. I'll apologize, correct the record. Where are they?
Yes. Where are they? So what do you make of social media censoring his name? It's
disgusting. This whole thing is disgusting. You have an individual who worked on the National Security Council. He's a CIA operative. He's tight to Brennan, tight to Biden, tight with Schumer's staff. He has no firsthand knowledge. He's the recipient of leaks, which may be a federal offense depending on who did what. He conspires in the shadows with Schiff staff. Why do you think he filed under the whistleblower statute? The guy's not thinking about that. He was told to file under the whistleblower statute so they can create this phony idea that he's camouflaged from scrutiny. And I cannot believe that the Senate Republicans are going to go along with this. I can't believe the media have gone along with this. You know, I'm on all these media platforms, Alex. One day I'll retire. I've got to. It's too much. But I'm on all these media platforms. And the ones I control, radio, Levin, TV, I mention this clown's name all the time. The ones I don't control, you're not able to announce it. And then we have a hearing, a so-called impeachment hearing, where the Republicans can't mention it because the Democrats are threatening the Republicans with ethics complaints. And the media are threatening the Republicans that they will eviscerate them should they dare to mention his name. The same media that printed the Pentagon Papers, the same media that printed the president's discussions with Mexico and Australia and the Russians, the same media that has no self-control, no policing mechanism. Here we're told, you better not mention this guy. I've never seen anything like this go back in history, ever. It's appalling. Why? Anything goes to destroy Donald Trump. Anything goes to destroy Donald Trump.
And that brings me to my last question, which is looking down the field and what happens after this. And this is what I'm concerned about, because I got to be honest with you, Mark, I like to fight fair, but when you see the way the impeachable offense is really just being Donald Trump, and that's always been the case, trying to set the standard that impeachment is anything the House wants, what's to prevent the Republicans just for impeaching any Democrat who is elected? If the Republicans have the House and the Democrats have the presidency, why wouldn't we try the same tactic on the right? Why wouldn't we just try to impeach just because, hey, it's whatever the Republicans say it is at that point?
You know, I represented Attorney General Ed Meese in the Iran-Contra matter well after they left office. And what's interesting is the Democrats put the independent counsel statute in place in 79 with Chris Dodd and Barney Frank. And I believe then, as I believe now, the only reason they led the effort to kill it, even though they created it, is because it was applied against Bill Clinton. And both sides decided that's enough. Now, I like playing by the rules too. But when you have the enemy burning down our bridges, burning down our homes, burning down our institutions, obviously figuratively, but still effectively, undermining our constitutional order, due process, even the impeachment clause isn't good enough for them. They have to rewrite it effectively. Same thing has to be done to them or it's not going to end. And this is the problem. My point is this, and let me say it on your show. I don't care who the Democrat is, who they nominate. If the Democrat gets elected, we need to immediately look for reasons to remove them from office. And we need to immediately say, hey, look, boys and girls, this is the way it goes. You need to understand what you unleashed must be applied against you. And when we're done, then we'll sue for peace, and we'll all, and especially you guys, need to comply with the Constitution of the United States. A simple majority of 31 in the House. They don't have the Senate. They don't have the president. A simple majority of 31 in the House means if 16 of them lose, the Republicans control the House again. Cannot be permitted ever again. A minority of a minority, because your kooks, your base, cannot be permitted to conduct a coup, pretend it's constitutional, and disenfranchise 63 million people. We will not put up with it. That's Levin's point anyway.
That's exactly right, and that's where I'm at. And people who know our brand, Marcus, we're not looking to use these tactics, but we have to at this point. So it's you and I are totally on the same page. I would love to win in a fair fight, but there's no fair fight anymore. It's just not. It's just everything is a political tool to take out Trump and to take out the right.
Alex,
yes,
the law and the Constitution can't only apply to one side.
That's right.
I mean, that's suicide. That means the law and the Constitution will never exist. And so we need to make a standard. This is why I disagree with the president and others who are saying that I want a trial. My concern about that is a motion to dismiss is perfectly legitimate in any other form. It ought to be legitimate here, but for the fact that McConnell refuses to change the rules or he doesn't have the votes to change the rules. You don't give an unconstitutional process that undermines all notions of due process under Western civilization norms your imprimatur if you're the United States Senate. The Senate is the only body that can truly check the House in this process. So if they're not going to do it, they're going to go along with the trial. They've surrendered too much. Now, if they're going to have the trial, then damn it, do it the right way. But my attitude about this is you're a firewall against tyranny. You don't say, okay, we'll have a trial on tyranny. So my attitude about this is it really they ought to make the effort to dismiss. And the senators who vote against changing the rules for that, okay, well, the American people once and for all will speak. And if the American people are virtuous, they'll deal with it. If not enough of us are, well, then we get what we get.
Mark Levin, he's on this station, 6 p.m. every night. I'll be listening tonight. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for joining me.
God bless, Alex. Take care.